You are currently living in a trap that you helped build, and you probably do not even know it. Think about a life where every single wish you have is granted before you even ask for it. You live in a palace with gold floors and gardens that smell like heaven all year long. This was the real life of a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama, who lived a very long time ago. He was born into a royal family in a place called Kapilavastu, near the mountains we now call the Himalayas. Before we see how he gave it all up, please subscribe to History Memory Chronicles to learn more about the past. Siddhartha was not just any prince because his birth was surrounded by strange and beautiful stories. Legend says that his mother dreamed of a white elephant entering her side before he was born. When he arrived, a wise man named Asita looked at the baby and started to cry with both joy and sadness. He told the king that this boy would either become a great king of the world or a great spiritual teacher. The king wanted his son to be a powerful ruler and not a monk who lived in the woods. So the king decided to build a perfect world inside the palace walls to keep the boy from ever leaving. He ordered that no old people or sick people or even dying flowers were allowed near the young prince. Siddhartha grew up surrounded by beautiful dancers and the best food and the most expensive clothes. He married a beautiful woman named Yasodhara, and they had a young son whom they named Rahula. But even with all this comfort, Siddhartha felt a strange, heavy feeling in his heart that he could not explain. He started to feel like the palace was not a home, but a very comfortable cage. One day, he asked his chariot driver, a man named Channa, to take him outside the palace gates. This journey changed the course of human history, and it started with the sight of a very old man. Siddhartha saw someone with wrinkled skin and a bent back who was struggling just to take a single step. He asked Channa if this man was a different kind of human, or if he was just born that way. Channa told him the truth that everyone gets old and that time eventually steals our strength away. This shocked the prince because he had been told that youth and beauty were things that lasted forever. On his next trip, he saw a man who was covered in sores and shaking with a very high fever. He learned that sickness can strike anyone at any time, no matter how rich or powerful they are. The third thing he saw was even more terrifying because it was a dead body being carried to a fire. Siddhartha realized for the first time that everyone he loved, including himself, would one day die and turn to ash. These three sights were like heavy weights being placed on his shoulders as he returned to his golden rooms. He could no longer enjoy the music or the dancing because he knew it was all just a temporary distraction. But on his fourth trip out, he saw a man wearing simple orange robes who looked incredibly peaceful. This man was a monk who had given up everything to find the truth about why people suffer so much. Siddhartha saw a light in that man's eyes that was brighter than any of the jewels in his father's crown. At the age of 29, he made a choice that most of us would find absolutely impossible to make. He decided to leave his palace, his wealth, and his family in the middle of the night while they slept. He looked at his wife and son one last time, but he did not wake them because he knew they would stop him. He rode his horse Kanthaka to the edge of a river and cut off his long hair with a sharp sword. He traded his silk robes for the rags of a beggar and sent his driver back to tell the king he was gone. Siddhartha spent the next 6 years wandering through the hot, dusty plains of India looking for answers. He studied with the most famous teachers of the time and learned how to meditate until he could stay still for days. But even after learning everything they knew, he still did not feel like he had found the core of the problem. He then joined a group of 5 men who believed that the only way to be free was to punish the body. They thought that if they could ignore pain and hunger, they would finally find the secret to the soul. Siddhartha became so thin that his ribs stuck out like the cage of a bird and his skin turned dark. He would eat only 1 single grain of rice a day, or sometimes he would eat nothing at all for weeks. He became so weak that he could barely stand up, and his hair started to fall out from the lack of food. One day, while he was sitting by a river, he heard a musician on a boat talking to his student. The musician said that if the string is too tight, it will snap, but if it is too loose, it will not play a sound. Siddhartha realized that he had been living his life at two extremes that were both wrong and unhealthy. In the palace, the string of his life was too loose because he had too much luxury and not enough truth. In the forest, the string was too tight because he was starving himself and could no longer think clearly. He decided that the right path must be somewhere in the middle, which he called the middle way. A young village girl named Sujata saw him sitting there and thought he was a tree spirit because he looked so thin. She offered him a bowl of rice cooked in milk, and he chose to eat it so he could regain his strength. The 5 men who were with him were angry because they thought he had given up on his holy quest. They left him all alone, but Siddhartha did not care because he finally knew what he had to do next. He walked to a place called Bodhi and sat down under a large fig tree that we now call the Bodhi tree. He made a silent vow to himself that he would not get up until he found the answer to human suffering. As he sat there in deep silence, a dark force named Mara came to try and stop him from succeeding. Mara is the king of shadows and ego, and he represents the parts of our own minds that keep us trapped in fear. First, Mara sent beautiful visions to tempt Siddhartha and make him want to go back to his old life. Siddhartha stayed perfectly still and did not move a single muscle as the visions faded away like smoke. Then Mara sent a giant army of monsters and demons who threw flaming arrows and rocks at the silent prince. But Siddhartha had so much peace in his heart that the arrows turned into flowers before they could touch him. Finally, Mara tried to trick him by asking who would ever believe that a single man could find the truth. Mara claimed that he was the master of the world and that Siddhartha had no right to sit there. Siddhartha did not argue, but he simply reached down and touched the ground with his right hand. He asked the earth itself to be his witness because the earth has seen every good thing he had ever done. The earth gave a great thud like a drum, and Mara fled away in terror because he knew he had lost the battle. That night as the moon rose, Siddhartha entered a state of mind that was as clear as a mirror. He saw all of his past lives, and he saw how the entire universe is connected like a giant web. He saw that people suffer because they try to hold on to things that are always changing and moving. He realized that we are like people trying to catch the wind in our hands and getting sad when it slips away. When the morning star appeared in the sky, he was no longer Siddhartha the prince or Siddhartha the beggar. He had become the Buddha, which means the enlightened one, or the person who is finally wide awake. He sat under that tree for 7 weeks, just enjoying the feeling of being completely free from worry and pain. At first, he thought that the truth he found was too deep and too difficult for other people to understand. He worried that people were too busy with their own desires to listen to a message about letting go. But his heart was filled with so much compassion that he knew he had to try and help everyone else. He walked over 100 miles to a place called the Deer Park in Sarnath to find his 5 old friends. When they saw him coming, they could tell just by the way he walked that something incredible had happened. His face was glowing with a soft light, and his eyes were filled with a peace they had never seen before. He sat down and gave his very first talk, which is now called the Sermon of Turning the Wheel of Truth. In this talk, he explained the 4 noble truths, which are the foundation of everything he taught for the next 40 years. The first truth is that suffering is a part of life, and no one can escape the fact that things go wrong. The second truth is that suffering comes from our own greed and our constant wanting for things to be different. The third truth is that there is a way to end this suffering by learning how to let go of those hungry desires. The fourth truth is a practical plan called the Eightfold Path, which shows us how to live a balanced life. He told them that we must have the right view of the world and the right intentions in our hearts. We must use the right speech by not lying or hurting others with our words, and we must do the right actions. We must find the right way to earn a living that does not cause harm to any other living being. We must put in the right effort to stay positive and use right mindfulness to stay aware of the present moment. Finally, he taught them right concentration, which is the ability to keep the mind calm and steady. The 5 men became his first students, and soon hundreds and then thousands of people came to hear him. The Buddha did not care if a person was a rich king or a person who cleaned the streets for a living. He taught that every human being has the seed of enlightenment inside them, no matter where they come from. He spent the rest of his long life walking from village to village in the heat and the rain to help people. He once met a famous killer named Angulimala, who had killed many people and wore their fingers as a necklace. While everyone else ran away in fear, the Buddha walked right up to him with a heart full of kindness. He spoke so softly and so wisely that the killer dropped his weapons and became a peaceful monk. The Buddha showed that no one is ever too far gone to change their life and find peace if they really try. He also returned to his home city many years later to see his father and his wife and his son. Instead of coming back as a prince, he came back as a teacher who carried a bowl to ask for food. His father, the king, was angry at first, but he soon saw that his son had found something better than a kingdom. The Buddha's wife and son eventually joined him and became part of the community of monks and nuns. For 45 years, he never stopped teaching about the power of mindfulness and the beauty of compassion. He told his followers not to believe him just because he was famous, but to test his words for themselves. He said you should not follow a path just because it is written in a book or because a teacher says it is true. You must try it out in your own life and see if it actually makes you a kinder and happier person. When the Buddha reached the age of 80, he knew that his physical body was finally getting tired. He traveled to a place called Kushinagar and lay down between 2 tall trees to face his final moments. His students were crying because they did not want to lose their guide and their best friend. But the Buddha told them not to be sad because everything that is born must eventually pass away. He told them that his body was just a shell and that his real self was the truth he had shared with them. His final words to them were very simple, but they are still famous all across the world today. He told his followers to be a lamp unto themselves and to work out their own freedom with diligence. He did not want people to worship him like a god, but to use his life as a map to find their own way. After he passed away, his body was burned and his ashes were shared among different groups of people. They built round buildings called stupas to hold his remains and to remind people of the path he found. Buddhism eventually spread from India to China and Japan and all the way to the Western world. Today, millions of people use his techniques of meditation to deal with the stress and noise of modern life. The message of the Buddha is not about a religion, but about understanding how your own mind works. It is about realizing that you do not need more stuff or more money to be truly happy inside. It is about being kind to the person next to you and being kind to yourself when things get difficult. The Buddha showed us that even if we are born in a palace or a hut, we all have the same potential. We can all wake up from the dream of wanting more and find a peace that the world cannot take away. Think about how much your life would change if you stopped worrying about the future for just 5 minutes. That small moment of peace is exactly what the Buddha spent his entire life trying to share with us. His story is a reminder that the greatest journey you will ever take is the one that leads into your own heart. Thank you for watching this journey into the life of the teacher who changed the world with a smile. Don't forget to subscribe to History Memory Chronicles to help us share more stories of wisdom and truth. Check out the next video on your screen to keep exploring the history of the world's greatest thinkers.